Greetings everybody, Maximus here with some air cargo news. FedEx has finally abandoned any hope of reopening its Hong Kong pilot base, citing China and Hong Kong's coronavirus policies that have left no clear timeline for when the city will return to normal. In a company memo, FedEx confirmed the January decision to move its pilots out of the city was now permanent. To quote Robin Sabasco, FedEx's systems chief pilot, he said the airline needed to adjust to the economic, regulatory, and business environment worldwide. The move reflects the increasingly tough operating environment for businesses under Hong Kong's strict quarantine policy. Although the decision was seen as unlikely to affect FedEx's flights in and out of the city, which are largely operated by pilots based in California. While Hong Kong has seen almost no local coronavirus infections for months under its zero-COVID strategy, mandatory 21 days hotel quarantine for those returning from any destination means the city is effectively shut off from the outside, even as the rest of the world reopens. The decision to close the Hong Kong base reflects this constant evolution and is designed to provide a measure of stability to these team members, as there is no clear timeline when life may return to normal in Hong Kong, Sabasco said. Following this closure of the Hong Kong crew base, pilots flying in and out of Hong Kong will be primarily based out of Oakland, California in the U.S. In January of this year, FedEx relocated 180 pilots and their families from Hong Kong to California in response to tough Hong Kong aircrew quarantine measures. The airline defended the move at the time, explaining this temporary relocation ensures pilots can see their families as soon as they finish a trip, not weeks afterwards. It also eliminates our Hong Kong-based crews being stuck in a repeated loop of self-isolation. Locally based air crew are required to do up to 14 days of quarantine if vaccinated and 21 if not, and conducts closed-looped operations in which pilots fly for weeks non-stop before quarantining and returning to the community. FedEx doesn't have enough manpower to sustain closed-loop operations such as those maintained by the city's flagship airline, Cathay Pacific. The global business environment continues to evolve, and with the pandemic requirements in Hong Kong, FedEx has made the decision to close its Hong Kong crew base and relocate its pilots, the company said in the statement. A spokeswoman added that FedEx will continue to maintain its operations in Hong Kong, which are vital to our Asia, Pacific, and global network. We are fully engaged with government authorities to support our crew members and address Hong Kong's entry and quarantine requirements. This decision will allow us to continue to staff our Hong Kong and Asia flights without being subject to Hong Kong entry restrictions. Rob Chipman, CEO of Asian Tigers Group, one of Hong Kong's largest logistics service providers, said he hopes the action by FedEx, a U.S. multinational with a presence in the city for many years, would send a signal to decision makers. I hope the shutdown of the pilot's base will send a signal to the Hong Kong government over its zero-COVID policy, which should be adjusted according to the pandemic development, even though it is a complicated issue that involves Beijing, he said. So as long as pilots don't get off the aircraft when they arrive in Hong Kong, they are free to leave the country when the aircraft does without having to spend 21 days in quarantine. And trust me, I know firsthand about the Hong Kong quarantine. I have a brother that's a resident of Hong Kong. He's fully vaccinated and tested negative every time. Yet recently, when he flew back to Hong Kong from a visit here in the U.S., he had to stay in a government-approved hotel for 21 days where he wasn't permitted to leave the hotel room for any reason while he was tested daily by the government until the 21 days was up. So you can see how it's much easier for FedEx and their pilots just to add an additional crew for each flight and just keep their pilots here at home in the U.S. Well, that'll do it for now. Now it's your turn to let me know down below. Oh, and since this video is pandemic related, that means YouTube, of course, will demonetize it just like they do with all my Boeing Max videos. But if you would like to help support the channel so I can continue to bring you the best content I can, be sure to check out the merch and buy me a coffee links in the description below. Oh, and speaking of that, I'd like to give a shout out to Ken Morans, Mac Draco, Chuck Weber, and someone for their support this week through the Buy Me a Coffee app. It is always greatly appreciated. But the best and always free way to support the channel is to simply subscribe. It's just a click away. And don't forget to like, share, and ring the bell. And as always, remember, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.